Budgeting is lame. Budgeting doesn't work. It's a hassle, and I'm not keeping track of every damn thing I spend money on. If this sounds like you, then we're going to change all that thinking, and I'm going to show you how to get your money back using 100% based budgeting. One of the greatest thinkers of all time is the incomparable Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. And he said something very profound. He said, "You have power over your mind and not outside events. Once you realize this, you will find strength." How I translate this is I have power over my thoughts and my actions, but I don't have power over the outside world and their thoughts and their actions. So one way that I keep control in the area of finances is to use budgeting. Now I know what you're already saying. I don't want to have to keep track of things. I want to have to write everything down. Budgeting is a hassle. Maybe it doesn't work, or maybe it works for other people, but it's not going to work for me. It doesn't have to be like that. There is a way that is so simple for you to budget on the fly and literally still have as much money as you need to do the things you need to do. And it's called 100% based budgeting. When I was a kid, I was just like you. And I wanted to spend money on everything I saw. And I would have things that I would go out and see, and I'd say, I want that, and I want that. And a lot of this is like point of purchase, on the fly spending. I didn't really have any concern with budgeting, because if I had money in my wallet, well, guess what? It was for me. It was my money, and I was going to spend it how I wanted to. Of course, later on I would suffer, because I would say, oh my God, I shouldn't have bought that thing, because now I'm a little tight for, gas this week, or I'm a little tight for some other expense that I need money. And God forbid something popped up and happened, I literally would be truly screwed. So I started to think about creating a budget, and what I came up with was 100% base budgeting. What that is I take all of my money, every dime that comes in, and I account for all of it. I put it all somewhere so that it's in a bucket, I know where it is, and it's now accounted for. And I can use it how I please too, right? I mean, I'm defining those buckets. You have zero rules on the money that comes in. Your money comes in, and it's all well for you. Then at the end of the month, you don't have enough to pay your insurances or your rent, or you wanted to go out, and you literally find yourself scrambling. So your first rule that you have to apply when you're going to even create a budget is a very simple one. It's don't spend more than you make. So right there, I want you just to begin with that and know that if you don't spend more than you make, then you can create a budget that is known as stable. Right? A lot of people create a budget, but it's just not a stable budget. And I say, yeah, I see you created a budget there, but it's not stable. And they say, well, what do you mean by that, Daniel? How is it not stable? I said, well, because your categories are always changing. Your amounts aren't stable. They're not the same. So you're not doing what you said and set out to do, which is create a budget and stick to it. So how to create a stable budget? We create a stable budget by using percentages. And once again, I use 100% base budgeting. We're going to take the entire amount that comes in on average, okay? I realize you could get bonuses. I realize your paychecks could change. I realize you could be in an industry where not all of the pay is the same exact every week. If it's $500 one week, it could be $550 the next with overtime or bonuses. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the lowest amount that you make, and you're going to use that as your stable budget. Anything above that is extra, and we will find a place for that too. So how a 100% base budgeting works is you take the percentages. So let's just start out with the one that I gave my friend. I said, you're going to do a 30, 30, 30, 10. That equals our 100%. You're going to take your pay, and your first 30%, what you're going to do with that is you're going to pay yourself first. And with the amount of money he makes, he can actually do that. He can take 30% because he has a pretty good salary, and he can take 30% for him. it's important that when you work hard and the end of the week comes, you don't feel broke, right? That you feel like if I want to go out and eat out, or if I want to go do something with my girlfriend or my wife or my boyfriend, that you have the money to do that. So paying your first gives you the opportunity to comfortably do that. So the first 30% he takes for himself. His second 30% goes into what I like to refer to as short-term bills. That's anything that's reoccurring, that's happening on a weekly or monthly basis. That's literally going to be your living expenses, your rent or your mortgage. That's going to be a car payment. That's going to be insurances, whether it be car insurance or health insurance. That's going to be a gym membership. That's going to be anything that comes up like a cell phone bill. So all of those reoccurring bills, it could even be fuel for the week to get back and forth to work. That's a reoccurring bill. Okay, if you spend a little bit on coffee every morning on your way to work, or you stop and get breakfast and that's what you do, then it's okay as long as you've accounted and it's in the budget. You know you're spending that. So his first 30 is paying himself first. His second 30 is for short-term bills. His third 30% is now going into what's called long-term bills and savings. Things come up that were unexpected. A long-term bill. Some people, like me, pay their insurances all at once a year. That's a long-term bill. Insurance gives you a little bit of a discount if you do it like that, or if you pay bi-yearly every 6 months. So that would be a bill that comes up once in a while, but that doesn't come up all the time. Taxes are another thing, whether it's income taxes, property taxes, your house or business taxes. Those are things that come up over a long period of time. They don't come up every single month, but they do come up. Some subscriptions are like that. You're going to maybe pay a gym membership, maybe pay a membership to something else, or an insurance policy. Those things can come up once in a while, and they would be a longer term thing that is going to come up, and you're going to need money for that. And having money for that also allows you to pay for things that may creep up. Maybe you have an accident you got into and you damaged a piece of your car and you don't want to run it through insurance and you just want to pay for it yourself. Maybe the kids were playing in the backyard and broke the back window and now you're going to change out the slider. That can all come out of your long-term bills and savings money. So what is that last 10%? That's what I like to refer to as a POM account. POM, what does that even mean? It's peace of mind account. Literally, it's the account I have so that I can sleep at night. I take the last 10% and I put that as a dedicated savings account that I do not touch. And it's a POM account, literally a peace of mind account. That's so I can feel good. That's so I can save. That's so I can know and think back and know that I've got money just sitting there so that if an emergency ever does happen, I have real money sitting in an account. What I like to use the POM account for is long-term savings, put it in a high-yield savings account. So usually there's different banks that you can go to that you can get anywhere from 4 to 5%. And I always put the POM account in a high-yield APY. You want to do that so it's literally earning you money while you sleep. 5% is no joke. And if you're constantly putting 10% into that POM account, it literally grows like crazy. And like I said, your third 30%, your long-term bill and savings money, when that builds up enough and I haven't used it all because I haven't had any real emergencies, or maybe I had an insurance payment I made or a membership I had to pay, whatever was left over after 6 to 12 months, I dump in the POM account where I have that last 10% going. So for him, once again, 100% base budgeting. We've gone 30% for him, 30% for short-term bills, 30% for long-term bills, and 10% for his POM account. Now you're saying, Daniel, 30% is not enough, or saving 10% is just too much. Like, I need that money. Well, you're going to have to do a budget that works for you. That's what worked for him. And literally, you can do anything with these numbers. You can skew them and sort them any way you like and divide them up in a way that works good for you. If you have created a very expensive lifestyle in which it's taking 40, 50% or more of your income just to live for your short-term bills, it's a bit excessive, but you're going to have to reorganize those numbers. So maybe your finances and your budget, your 100% base budgeting is going to look like 10% for you, 50% for your living expenses, and that's going to leave 40% remaining, and maybe you can divide that up into 30% for long-term and 10% for savings. You work with the money you have. Now, as you make more money, you can increase the amount of money you take, and maybe you can even tailor those percentages to account for the new monies coming in. One of the things that my friend was able to do is he was doing the 30, 30, 30, 10 that we talked about. But remember, that third 30% is long-term expenses / savings. So what would happen is maybe 6, 8, 9 months would go by and he hadn't had too many long-term bills pop up. So he would start to build up some money in there. Maybe he dipped into it for a car repair. Maybe he dipped into it for a home repair, or dipped into it for an insurance payment. But he still had excessive amounts in there. So what he would do is he would take some of that, divide it in half, and put it into his POM account, which is an absolutely great thing to do, and I highly recommend that, because you're doing a little bonus into your long-term savings, and that money also starts to earn 5% or more, depending on what kind of account you have it set up in. So literally, you don't have to just stick to this formula, you have to stick to the categories, and the formula can change. Maybe you're only going to take 5% for you at first, but you're going to watch that and you're not going to exceed that. Point of purchase sales, by the way, tend to kill this. So if you're not watching and you're just tending to get food delivered and you're using Uber Eats and you're spending too much money on Amazon and you have subscriptions that you don't know about that are whacking your account, well then this isn't going to work for you. You have to get smart with your money and get control of your finances. This is just a basic way of doing some budget. You don't need an app. You don't need some big fancy list of things to do and where your money's going and write down every little thing. It doesn't have to be confusing. What you should do, though, is sit down at least one time and figure out your categories and what you can safely put in each of those categories. Once you do that, you will be well on your way to having a great financial future. So start by instituting a 100% based budgeting application and just lay that out. Do it one time and you can change it down the line, but get started today. My name is Daniel Francesco Margasa, and you are watching the Almost Criminal Millionaire channel. If you are interested in money, finances, saving, investing, and having more for your financial future, then this is the channel for you. Please like and subscribe for more.